So I have to apologize for my last video. It just, for some reason, disconnected abruptly. And I'm not sure why. But anyway, people were texting me and calling me, Carla, what happened to your video? Why it just ended so suddenly? And I jokingly said, well, that was to make sure that you guys are looking to the video until the end of it. Of course, I was just teasing, right? But on a more serious note, this is what I realized. People are not looking at the video, and the entire video, I should say. And guys, it's messing up my algorithm scores because it seems as though people are not engaged, right? And some instances, who knows, maybe yes, yeah. But there are some instances I realize people will open the video and just to check it, but they would look at it later on. But the mere fact you open it and you close it back so quickly, what it is saying to the algorithm is that this person is not interested in this video. It is not engaging enough. And because of that, my engagement score is dropping. And then YouTube will not send the video out to other people. So it's affecting my score. So I'm asking one huge favor. Once you open the video, please look at it, let it run. Even if you, so if you realize that you would not be able to look at the entire video at this time, then don't open it. Open it when you know you're relaxed and you can look at it. I'm asking you that big favor, please, right? So, okay, good. Took care of that. Okay, so in this episode, I'll be talking about women who get into relationships and very soon after, they start feeling emotionally disconnected and lonely. And what could be some of the reasons for this loneliness, and what are some of the solutions? What can these women do differently so that they would be more engaged and more connected in their relationships? Well, as I said, there are a number of reasons. And the first one I want us to look at is, why did you get into a relationship in the first place? And surprisingly, when I did my research, there are so many reasons why people either get married, have common law relationship, or just decide to hook up. All right. And what stood out to me was sometimes some women get into relationships because they wanted to feel loved. They wanted that validation and that acceptance because at some point during their childhood, they did not receive that. And they're yearning for this love and this attention. And they believe if I get married or if I have a boyfriend, husband or what have you, then eventually these feelings will go away because that person will now fill that void. And actually it takes me back to this theory called the attachment theory by a psychologist, John Bowlby. And he spoke about, as a child, there were different attachment theories that affected the well-being of the child. You have the anxious attachment, secured attachment, and so on. But what I would like you to do for me is do your homework. Go Google attachment theory and see which theory subscribe to your behavior. All right. And that will give you a pretty good idea as to how you contribute to your relationship. Because many of us may not realize that in our childhood, there are some things that are still manifesting in our adult behavior that we take into relationships. So that's one thing. Another reason is, we go into relationships with very, very high expectations, sometimes high and even unrealistic expectations, right? You know, growing up, you read all these nice fairy tale books and it ended happily ever after. They got married and the attraction stayed on forever until the end of the book. But again, that's a book, right? That's fairy tale. The reality is, once you get into a relationship, of course, you have the different phases that I spoke about in one of my other videos. You have that attraction phase, right? That's a honeymoon stage. You love him so much and he loves you so much. You cannot do without each other. He's feeding you, you're feeding him, all that, the niceties, yeah? But again, that's a phase and a stage. After that attraction phase, the reality steps in, where you have the logistics of life. You have to now pay mortgage, car note, help pick up the children. You have in school, pick them up in their schoolwork. The children have different school activities, change in career, the fatigue of life, the stresses of everyday routine. All of these logistics start taking place, and guess what? Intimacy takes a backseat, right? And now the emotional disconnection starts to step in because you're not having that bonding time, that quality time, and maybe for whatever other reason, all right? So the attraction is no longer there and as intense as it was in the beginning. And you start going in your corner, he start going in his man cave, the children start becoming, oh, what do you want again? Is she calling? I just help you with this. All right, so you see what's happening there. Now, even apart from the children, now let's say the unrealistic expectations. Sometimes the person you marry, they're low income, right? But for some reason, you want to fit in with the Joneses. So now you want this person to buy you a house in some big shot area, or you want to change the car and you're nagging him. You want him to buy you a Ferrari because somebody in work has a nice Benz, and you start comparing yourself. And the demands on this person, or the expectations that this person would be able to deliver some of the unreasonable requests that you are having, that's becoming a challenge. And now not only a challenge, but it's also becoming a problem. And the same way how you look into this person to fill that void that you didn't have, the expectation is becoming burdensome on that person. And your partner may not be able to deliver as you would like, as you expect them to. And then you will have challenges. You will have the emotional disconnection starting to take place. Actually, there was a study in New Zealand and the USA in 2003, where they look at young ladies who did not have their fathers at home. So they grew up single parent with moms. And these young ladies usually get into relationships very early because they're looking for a man to fill that void, to be that role, that a male role model that they did not have when they had their parents. And imagine you are looking to a man or your partner to fulfill all of these expectations, financial expectations, emotional expectations, being a daddy and at the same time being a husband. If you continuously have these requests, what do you think will happen to the person? All right, they themselves might start moving away from you because the expectations are too many. In addition to that, another reason could be that women many times compare their relationships to other relationships. So they might be, look at Tom and Kathy. They're always going out. They look so lovey-dovey. He opens the car door for her. They always holding hands. They're so sweet, right? And you're telling the guy, you're nothing like that. You should be like him. He makes every effort to this. Now remember, what you are seeing, that's on the outside. We don't know what Kathy and Tom behavior is like when they're behind closed doors, right? It's like there's this old saying where I came from, see me, come, live with me. It's two different things, right? But you hear pressuring your partner to be like somebody else, when in truth and that, in fact, that other couple, they're having their own issues, and it could be even worse than what you are experiencing, right? So when you're realizing now, I am starting to not enjoy this relationship anymore. I'm feeling so detached from my partner. This is now becoming a problem, this loneliness. But the loneliness is not really the problem, What is the problem is the disconnection. So if you have to find a solution for the problem, you have to start asking yourself, what are some of the reasons why I am disconnected, which eventually leads to you feeling lonely. And you might be in the same house with someone, you share the same bed, you have the same relationship, you have a life together, but that doesn't mean that you will not feel lonely. You could still have times, your moments, when you really not feeling that connection and that attachment. You feel a hollowness inside, right? So it's like you're present, you're still functioning, you're operational, but deep down inside, you know that something is missing. And some of the reasons that I shared with you, those could be some of the things that you may want to revisit and see if that is contributing to the disconnection. My recommendation is you could try reconnecting with yourself first. And what would that look like? Firstly, you have to be honest. Be very honest about yourself. Ask yourself, why in the first place am I in this situation that I'm in? Am I contributing to the disconnection? Did I really get into the relationship with this person for the right reasons? And based on the answers, you will know what adjustments you would have to make. So that's one of the things that you could do. The other thing is, I think you don't need to continuously look externally for your emotional needs to be met. Give yourself that self-compassion. Go get a massage. Buy yourself flowers. Initiate different conversations with your husband, your family, friends. Get very active so you don't have time for any self-pity. Know that you are worthy of the best life. Your self-talk, what do you tell yourself? All right? Be very encouraging. Have really good mantras. Every day, get up and know that I am enough. I am beautiful. I have a lot to offer. I don't need to depend on X, Y, or Z so that I could feel validated. So give yourself a booster. Give yourself put yourself on an ego trip. Temporarily, of course, right? No, don't let it go to your head to the extent that you start feeling superior as though you really don't need anyone. Because one of the things I always say is, no man is an island. We all need each other. But there comes a time when it could be borderline dependency, where you have to be very careful with that, right? So just make sure that you're doing things to make yourself feel happy and do some emotional regulation. Yeah? If any one of the viewers have anything else that you all want to contribute to make sure that she doesn't feel very disconnected or lonely, please put it in the comment section. Make sure to like, share my video, and subscribe to Vibes and Wisdom until we meet again.